Welcome back to The Point, and right now an in-depth discussion on the divorce of Tom Cruise and Katie Holmes is on another news channel. So our next point is about a newly implemented law here in the beautiful state of California. I'm going to show you two videos here. First, a news report on the foie gras controversy, and then a brief little clip showing exactly what foie gras entails. Take a look.
In California, this is the last night you'll be able to order the delicacy foie gras.
Foie gras, that buttery stuff made from the fattened livers of ducks and geese, is illegal in California starting tomorrow. Animal cruelty activists are in a flap. In order to make foie gras, ducks and geese are force-fed cornmeal to make their livers grow 10 times their normal size.
It's messed up. I mean, honestly, when you think about like what foie gras is, it's kind of the pinnacle of human arrogance.
Okay, Debra Wilson, why a ban on foie gras?
Why not a ban? First of all, when it comes to cornmeal, even though they say it, you know, and they're giving you the information, they're saying that they force feed them with, cruelly force feed them with corn grain. The bottom line is ducks and geese, it is not compatible with their system. So the reason their livers get that big is because they become enlarged based on disease. So their livers are infected and diseased, and that's what makes it malleable. And so the cruelty factor has taken it to a new level when you're force feeding an animal, number one, with a steel pipe down its throat because it does damage to the gullet, number
8
one.
8 to 12 inches long of a steel or plastic tube.
And number two, being force fed a food that is not natural to that animal.
It's a high-fat, high-carbohydrate corn mash that's pumped through the tube and into the esophagus by means of a pneumatic pump. At the end of the force-feeding period, each 10-pound duck is forced to consume an amount that for a 175-pound adult human would be equivalent to 44 pounds of pasta a day.
So then they can't walk properly. Their bodies are bloated so much that they can't walk properly. Their legs become infected, and on top of the liver becoming affected by disease. So you're basically saying, let's take this animal and use it no more than its liver. So this animal has no value to us other than that liver. So let's disease it and let's make it heavy, let it not have the opportunity to walk. So we don't care about the pre-existing conditions around it. We don't care the dirty, the filth, the squalor.
Exactly.
Let's just take that so we can kill it and then just use the liver.
And again, the rest of the duck is thrown out and the liver becomes a delicacy for what I call a really nice, lovely, evolved, rich Epicurean fucks. Now, no disrespect to rich Epicurean fucks, but now here's the thing. You know, obviously, does anyone here have a problem with the ban? Is it government overreach?
I want to
ask
myself for having tasted this stuff.
Well, hang on. But there now. Here's the biggest three critiques we get on this. Number one, they say ducks have no gag reflex. I don't want to think about how you find that out, dudes.
Yeah.
But number two, that these animals have to gorge themselves anyway for a long migration. But as Debra pointed out, this is not the kind of food they gorge themselves on.
No.
And number three, this is an example of government overreach. Alexis, any thoughts?
Well, I say, well, my inner Ron Swanson just wants to say, give me all the eggs and bacon. But I think the fact of the matter is this was passed through a vote, I believe, in the state. I think the only issue that I have with the law, and I think Chicago tried a similar ban in 2006, but there seems to be a lot of problems with the law and how they implement it, because it doesn't seem the law is very clear. A lot of restaurant owners, you know, there are some loopholes with it. As far as they're finding ways to get it. They can't sell it, so if you obtain it and bring it to a restaurant. They
exactly.
So I think some restaurants even charge you like $20 for the cracker to serve it on. But you know, I'm very vain. I'm very much aware of what I put in my body. So you know, I don't have a problem with the ban, especially since voters did have a say in it.
Is this not?
I think the law needs to be clarified because it doesn't seem like there's a way to actually enforce this.
Could one not say this is an example of the nanny state meddling in our lives, and if you don't want foie gras, don't have it?
No. They're not met. First of all, if you watch that film, did those ducks look happy?
Well,
they really didn't look like they were enjoying the experience.
We're talking about intended cruelty.
And then let's unpack that statement and go to, let's unpack
cruelty.
that statement and talk about other unhappy animals that we consume for fun.
And we shouldn't.
Like veal.
Right.
I don't. And it's not, we're not saying that veal is okay. No one is saying that veal is okay. We're saying that we haven't gotten to legislation in order to do something about that. And especially with people who are animal advocates and people for the Humane Society of the United States, it's small baby steps. We're trying to make it as palatable as possible to a certain extent.
Exactly.
Without overriding the situation like PETA, so that we don't get the opportunity to really make minds think about what they're doing and make decisions that are more conscious.
So you're a
society.
vegan, right? You're a vegan who favors a more incremental approach than PETA might advocate.
Absolutely.
Okay, here's my point of view on it. Now, I have this fight with my vegan friends all the time, and I have plenty, and I go to vegan restaurants. I say that I'm a vegetarian 25 days of the month. I'd like to be less. I'm trying to be just fish. I'm trying to be better all the time. And I'm vegan. I try to be vegan like 3 or 4 days a week.
Okay.
And it feels good. It's a great way to be. And I think that an approach like that, the eat less meat movement, is much more palatable to carnivores. You come on and say veganism, Americans will give up their religion before they give up comfort food. And I do think it's going to have to be incremental steps. You want to help the rainforest, you want to make Paul McCartney happy, you want to save your colon, eat less meat. But now veal is undeniably cruel.
Absolutely.
There are those who think that cruelty to mammals is worse than cruelty to birds. But it's a messaging issue, I think. Gay marriage never would have been as popular as it's become if they hadn't begun reframing it as marriage equality. If we can start calling veal torture baby cow, wouldn't that be the thing that wakes people up?
I disagree. And the reason I say that is because I don't think Americans are so stupid that you have to go that limit. I think what we need to do is start putting real things on the table, real issues on the table, real looks at things on the table, real videos on the table, and call it for what it really is, as opposed to trying to make the language palatable. I think fuck the palatable language, the same way that if a situation goes down with your child.
Not palatable language, not palatable language, more efficient language. Veal is a nice, vague term. It doesn't sound like cow baby, it's veal.
I completely get where you're coming from. But at the same time, I believe that when we make the language softer, we think we're telling.
I'm saying blunter language is called for.
I'm saying it should be called veal. I don't think it should be called, little baby cow.
Okay.
I don't think we should I think it's softer language. I think we should know what veal is, how it's made, and how it's done so that people can really take a good look at what it is. Because why people have been used to veal.
They never know until they see it on a menu.
That's true. So. That's true. But the bottom line, it's not like this is new. It's not like this is all of a sudden coming up where we're recognizing this. We all know what it is. And because we've always known what it is, and our parents have known what it is, and our children know what it is, and it's been in society for a long time, we need to address it for what society knows it is, and then show what the real deal is with the thing we've always been used to and familiar with.
I want to go back to the government overreach thing.
I really do. I do too, because we saw this happen a few years ago in California with legislation about the treatment of chickens, you'll recall, which upset a lot of people as well.
You know what? If people need to be told by government not to treat animals in this way, fine. That's not government overreach. That's controlling people.
And isn't government we the people?
Well, yeah,
I mean, isn't this an example of us setting standards?
We don't mind when government tells us not to do that to each other.
And it was voted in. So this wasn't this fascist movement where it was just done. This was voted in. This is a law now.
I wouldn't care if it wasn't.
Law.
Right, well, I wouldn't either. But however, I think people who are champions of individual liberty would. And again, some animal abuse is more acceptable than others. If we started having...
I think none is.
Well, I'm with you, but if we started saying, okay, here's bald eagle bacon. People wouldn't want to have bald eagle bacon, but turkey bacon.
But that's only because of the concept of the eagle representing our country.
Well, of course.
You know what I'm saying? And so everything is all this theory, and no one wants it. As long as it's wrapped in plastic and as long as it's put on a plate, nobody really thinks about it.
I'll say something in defense of that. Look, people do eat meat. I'm not a hunter. But my attitude is, if you are a hunter, if you're going to eat what you kill, I kind of get that. If you're doing
of course, I do too.
If you're going to put it on your wall, you're sick.
We're talking about doing things in a humane way. So when we're talking about vegans that are real, true vegans to what they do, it's not about telling people how to eat or what to do with their body. It's about putting information out there and letting them make the decision. And then, if it is cruel, if you still have all that information and the process of what you do with your company or corporation is cruel, that's where education really needs to come in, and that's where the emphasis is. And did you know that factory farming processes cause more harm to the ecosystem than cars and buses combined?
And I'm glad you said that next, because this is one of my problems with liberals, okay? And I love my liberals, but when they come out and talk about cars are so bad, cow farming causes just as many emissions as cars.
More.
More. Go ahead, Alexis.
Yeah, and I think you and I had this discussion earlier off camera, but
You did?
We did. But yeah, you know, I would like to see a market solution to this because I am pro-market, but I think it does go a long way to educating people about where their food comes from and how it's treated, and I don't think that happens enough. And
is this because the agriculture lobby is so strong? I mean, most Americans don't know that.
I just think it's the hustle. I mean, whoever really stops to think about where their food comes from. But I think, you know, when you have a lifestyle change like you were talking about, it takes a lot of time to, you know, make that a part of your life. And I think the only way, I mean, yeah, it's great that we have a law. I don't know how effective it will be actually solving the problem, but I think the only way you'll have lasting change is getting people educated and getting people to buy into, yeah, this is.
No, you're right. And again, it's like drugs. People who want foie gras will get foie gras in California still.
And it's a slippery slope also because in today's economy, fast food is marketed for everyone. Fast food is marketed 99-cent meals at Taco Bell.
It's marketed not for everyone. It's marketed for poor people, and it's marketed for lower middle income.
But it's still marketed in general towards an economy because you know what? When it comes to these restaurants, whether it's poor, whether it's black, whether it's Latino, whether it's with low income, green is still green to a corporation.
Exactly.
And so they're putting out these meals, and what they're doing is they're doing the smoke and mirrors with, you can go to places like McDonald's and you can get a salad, but we know that you're going to get a burger with the salad. We know you're going to get fries somewhere along the line. We know you're going to get a milkshake. Right. We know that rainforests have been cut down for corporations so that they can graze cattle over in South America. So we know this.
And that very little of that stuff is actually food. And this is the part where I tell everyone watching needs to watch Forks and Knives. You need to see Jerry Garcia's Widow's excellent film, Food Inc. Yeah,
as Alexis was saying earlier.
And The Future of Food, made by Jerry Garcia's widow, which is a great film about it, where I learned that we used to have hundreds of slaughterhouses in this country. Now we have less than 20, and the average burger may have the meat from 1,000 different cows. Now,
and it has ammonia.
It has ammonia in it. My family was in the slaughterhouse business.
Really?
In the meat business. Yeah.
My dad used to be a butcher.
They're not there anymore.
No, they're not. It's all factory farming.
But you know what the answer is to all of this? Go to the deli, get some good kosher chopped chicken liver.
Or organic. Buy organic.
It's not. They don't do that. They don't do that to them, and it's close enough to foie gras.
But even then, you don't even know. Like if I want to go buy, eggs from cage-free chickens or cage-free hens to eat, well, films like The Future of Food points out that many of these cage-free hens are in, ankle deep in feces, in barns. They never see the daylight. They're not in a cage, but they're just in a big prison, like it's Midnight Express for barnyard fowl. It's great to talk about these problems, but it comes back to the question of individual liberty.
Well,
where does the government come in with regulating these, and does the government have a responsibility to educate the people about how disproportionately removed from our food we are?
Well, I know, and just to wrap up the other point, I mean, it's easy for us to say, yeah, go buy organic, but I mean, for a lot of families, that's just not affordable.
The 99-cent menu is there for them.
And what does it say about our policies that we're, making a Big Mac extra value meal less expensive than a head of broccoli? But no, I mean...
Don't say broccoli.
Scalia
subject here.
Well, it's true. And it's interesting because the ancient Egyptian pyramids were built by slaves. Our American food pyramid has been built by lobbyists. And we don't have a really accurate depiction of what our food intake should be. And likewise, I don't really know how we're going to be able to promote the general welfare by letting people know what the crap they're pumping into their bodies.
Yeah, but even in economic times like this, even people who are of a lower economic stature can still buy healthy foods, even if you're on food stamps. Because you can't use them for cigarettes, you can't use them for certain things, but you can still buy things that, if not organic, that are certainly not cruel.
True, but it's very tough for poor people to eat like Adam and Eve did in the garden.
They don't have to eat like Adam and Eve, but they can eat healthier.
We do have to move on, but I want to have one final comment on bacon. You'd think that two religions with such a fierce hatred of bacon would find more things to agree about. We want to know what you think, so write your comments down below. There's some very hideous comments on Facebook, by the way. People who say geese are ugly, foie gras tastes good. So if you think that, if you're an insensitive dick, we want to know.